Welcome to the Fourth Row Podcast, your exclusive source for 2A basketball. And now, your hosts, coming to you from the Slim Force studio, Andy and Benny Hill.
Welcome to the Fourth Row Podcast, the only podcast dedicated solely to 2A basketball here in the snowy state of Utah. I'm your host, Andy Hill. I'm here with the coach, Benny Hill, in the Slim Force studio, sponsored by Security National. The Fourth Row Podcast is still the number one 2A podcast in the state of Utah, 36 weeks running.
How about that? 36 weeks, man.
36 weeks. Every week it goes up one more. A reminder about the Fourth Row Podcast. It comes out every week. The audio version of the podcast releases either late Sunday night or Monday, with the YouTube version releasing on Wednesday or Thursday. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify and Apple for the audio and subscribe on YouTube for the video. Also follow us on all of our social media channels at Fourth Row Media.
You've been practicing that intro a little bit.
I've been working on it. I've been working on it all week, trying to get a little bit better.
Sounds good. Sounds really good, man.
There's a lot there. Before it was really simple. Now we've added all these things. We keep hearing all these things, and Peyton's over here wondering what's going on.
What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I'm just here, just watching for a minute.
Special guest today?
Yeah.
Not necessarily a guest. She's going to be a regular contributor here on the Fourth Row.
Yeah. So for a long time when we started this, the idea was we obviously started just doing boys basketball, and that kind of morphed from boys basketball into baseball. And we've always kind of had this thought that what if we expand into something else? And over the summer, we talked about a lot of different things. And girls basketball always comes up. And we knew between us two, we couldn't legitimately talk about girls basketball.
Not authentically, no.
Not authentically. So we said, if we're going to do that, we've got to get an expert. So we thought, who could we get that's an expert? And
we found us an expert.
Peyton's name
and
kept
she's
coming
here
up.
now.
I'm not sure about expert, but I guess we could go with that.
You'll soon find, yes, she's an expert in 2A basketball and just basketball in general.
Yeah. So we are now expanding the Fourth Row Podcast to girls basketball. I know there's a lot of people this year who have reached out to us and said, hey, when are you going to do girls basketball? We've kind of kept it in our back pocket for a while, but here we are.
Yeah, so let's do it.
All right. So what's on tap for tonight?
On tap for tonight, we have, first, our introduction. Peyton Shepherd, she's going to be talking about girls basketball. She's going to introduce the first Girls POWER5. Mm-hmm. It's been an awesome thing for us with boys, so she's going to introduce the inaugural 2A girls basketball POWER5 tonight. We'll have our weekly wrap-up, just some chit-chat about games going on that happened this past week, some that are going to be upcoming. Inside the Numbers will be a fun segment.
Yeah,
tonight.
We're gonna talk about Peyton's numbers tonight.
She doesn't want to talk about it. We're going to do it anyway. She had a great career at North Fair High School.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about some of those numbers, because ultimately our goal here, Peyton, is the goal of the Fourth Row is to highlight athletes and coaches that put in a lot of time, in this instance, to basketball. You get some recognition externally from the Deseret News or things like that, but we think our whole goal is to bring our whole community together, the 2A community together, by highlighting players, coaches, and in this instance, I'm going to highlight you. So that's going to be Inside the Numbers tonight. So
let's do it.
So we're going to go through, after that, our POWER5, our boys POWER5, and then our G-Telco wrap-up at the end.
I'm excited to hear your comments on the boys POWER5 tonight, too.
Yeah. Well.
We may also I think we're going to get an inside, maybe a North Severe Wolves breakdown. A boys North Severe Wolves breakdown?
I mean, if you want me to break down the
I
coach.
think you can.
Okay.
We're going to get a breakdown of the coach, the players.
He's here with us tonight in the studio. He's in the background. So it's going to be fun tonight.
So, yeah, that's our agenda for the night.
All right. Well, with that, Peyton, why don't you start talking about girls basketball?
Okay. So if we want to hop into the POWER5.
Let's just launch into the POWER5 right now. How about that? For it.
Perfect.
So in our POWER5, we mentioned this, we told you our POWER5, just a reminder to everybody, a POWER5 is not necessarily who is the best team, because everyone can pinpoint who's better. And sometimes it's really hard to say who's better 1 through 5, because all teams the top 5 teams are usually always pretty good and pretty close. But who's the hottest teams right now? Okay, that's what our POWER5 is. So usually, another thing we introduced this year was our dark horses,
which has been a lot of fun.
Because we always felt like last year there was always teams that hovered around the bottom of the POWER5, and we wanted to talk about them and highlight them, but we just never sometimes they didn't get into the Power 5. Mm-hmm. So we introduced dark horses this year. So we have 2 dark horses in our Power 5. So why don't you fire off? Go ahead with your dark horses.
Perfect. So I started off with my second dark horse as Duchesne. They've had a pretty hot start to the season, about 5-1. They have 2 starters returning. Their coach is a first-year coach, so you never know what that can bring. Lots of ups and downs with a first-year coach. They have really big games this week against Parowan and South Sevier, so that's really going to show a lot. South Sevier is playing very well right now as well, and they have a lot of scorers and capable athletes.
Now, South Sevier was in the finals last year, correct?
Yes. Uh-huh. So that's why Duchesne, I really feel like they had a quick start at it, 5-1, like I said. So I don't want to count them out of the Power 5, but I think they're right there with them.
Very nice. Dark horse number 1, Duchesne.
Okay, and going to the next one, Coach Marshall and his Beavers.
Yeah.
He's always had a good team. They're always in it. He's got a good offense. You could just watching their game the other day against Panguitch. You could see what they're trying to do. You can see their offense. But they don't have any returning starters. They did lose, I think it was 5 or 6 seniors last year. But Talia Elisa, she is a junior, averaging 18 points and 10 rebounds a game. So that's good stats. Double-double,
Yeah.
You can't count that out. They have a senior, Tawny Air, 12 points per game. And then they have a couple other young girls. There's a freshman. There's Gentry Brown, who's a sophomore. So they have a lot of good athletes. And they also have big games this week playing North Summit at the SVC. So that should be interesting to see how they match up against them.
So is it the 2A preview this week for girls?
Yeah,
Okay.
2A previews this week.
Very nice.
Friday and Saturday.
So what does Beaver do? I mean, in football, they've got it figured out. In girls basketball, they do the same thing. What does Coach Marshall do down there that makes them so tough? They're always there every year.
They're always there. I just think he's been a coach there for quite a while, and I just think it's creating a winning culture. They know how to win. That's their drive. Following last year, they had a lot of good players. Those younger girls are competing against them every day. Mm-hmm. So, they're right in it. They're knowing what it takes, and I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. But
Awesome. So we got Duchesne, Beaver, your 2 dark horses. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Absolutely awesome. Now let's bounce into what Andy always says. What is it you say?
The thing, what is it? Now let's talk about what really matters.
The Power 5.
And that's the Power 5. And as always, we'd like to remind you, not only the boys, but the girls' Power 5 this year, all year, is sponsored by our good friends at Barney Trucking. If you want to drive one of the big, beautiful blue and white trucks, keeping the lights on here in central Utah, reach out to them at barneyjobs.com. All right, here we go.
All right, number 5, my North Sevier Wolves.
North Sevier Wolves.
They are starting off 4-1, so a good start to the season. Coach Larson has 3 starters returning. One of them is actually out with an injury. Allie Mason, she broke her arm in volleyball a couple times. I'm not quite sure when she's going to be returning, but when she does, she will be a big asset to our team. We have Brooklyn Butler. She was first team All-State last year, averaging 12 points a game so far. So really contributing to the Wolves. And then there's a lot of other young contributors. There's Trey Torgerson, my sister. There's actually 2 of them, which makes it fun. So she's averaging 11, and then Kel's right behind her, always pitching in, and Swayze Mason is also a huge threat on the guard line. So there are 3 sophomores out there with good potential and are just working hard. They just work hard. So
one thing to always remember on the 4th row, you don't have to worry about being a homer.
No.
Yeah.
There's no shame in being a homer.
I'll be a homer.
You can disclaim it. You can say, I'm going to make a homer statement, but there's no shame in that.
Did you tell your sisters that they were going to be in the Power 5?
I told them I put them at number 5.
All right.
And I told them they better work harder to get up higher on my list.
I like it.
So there's no shame in that whatsoever.
Yep.
Then number 4.
Yep. My number 4 is actually APA Draper.
Wow.
So,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
We only say that because those are always interesting because we never really know what those teams have.
Exactly.
So fantastic to hear of a school from up north.
So I did a lot of research, and our Wolves actually played them this past week, and I was very impressed with what they brought to the table. There was a lot of up and down. There was a lot of attacking the basket from the guard line. They shot the lights out, completely shot the lights out. And they have a girl averaging 21 points per game. I'm unsure if it's the coach's daughter. They have the same last name. But yeah, she definitely brings a lot to that team. And then there's another girl averaging 12 points a game. But what really impressed me was their strength of schedule. Sometimes you'll get those private schools that don't play a lot of public schools, and so you're unsure of what they have. But they've played South Sevier, they played North Summit. They have a couple. I don't think they play until late December, but they are playing big schools, top 5 Power 5 contenders, which, I applaud that for playing these hard schools early on and seeing where they're at in the preseason.
I'm just looking here on Des News. I just pulled them up. They're currently 5-4, but let's see, they've played Parowan, Grantsville, North Sanpete. Let's see, North Summit, Millard, South Summit, North Summit again, and most recently, they played North Sevier and South Sevier. Yeah. So, yeah, rough schedule, tough schedule.
So traditionally, we know a little bit about the boys, but on the girls' side, do teams like North Sevier usually see a lot of those teams from the northern region, like Region 17, Region 18, the private charter schools? Do you see them much at all?
Not much. I feel like sometimes they're just so unknown because last year North Sevier hit American Heritage in the play-in game, and we only won by 3, and you just kind of never know what they're going to bring to the table. So I like that Draper APA's putting themselves out there, playing these schools that we know. We know South Sevier's good, and they played a close game the other night. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. So I'm really liking it.
I like that. I like the fact that you're picking teams, from the North region. As Benny said, we don't get a lot of information. Last year we touched base with Roland Hall and a couple of the other schools, but traditionally they're hard to get into. We don't ever see them. We don't play them that much, and so because of that, we just aren't able to give them a lot of recognition. So it's good to hear that.
So when we do get these schools, when we get them into the Power 5, it's good for us because it adds some variety. Because normally we're always talking about the same schools, but when we can locate some of these schools, and they are going to make a big difference in the overall, the way things play out overall, it's fun to talk about them. So APA Draper, that's your number 4 team. Number 3.
All right, going with the South Sevier Rams. They are currently 3-1 on the season. They actually have no returning starters, but they were runner-up at state last year against Kanab. So they do have a lot of young players coming back, but I like to see the stats on this because we have a girl averaging 12, 11, 10, 7, and 8 points per game. So that, I love when you see that on the stat board. It just shows that they're playing a good, solid team basketball, sharing the ball.
I'm looking at their stats. They played APA Draper, like you said. They had 11 threes. They can shoot it. Yep.
Yep, very versatile. I just like what they bring to the table, sharing the ball.
Awesome.
Things like that. And I was kind of waiting to see my Power 5 because I thought that was a big determining game. Like, I knew Draper APA was good, but seeing our South Sevier Rams, I just put them number 3.
Well, and the other thing, too, one that's interesting about our Power 5, none of those teams have faced each other yet.
Oh.
So we came out with the inaugural Power 5, and nothing really has changed because none of them went head-to-head yet. They've all pretty much been winning. So you are correct. So now you get a Power 5 where you actually get a head-to-head matchup in there.
Yeah, it's nice.
Good call on that. South Sevier, do they trap still like their boys?
I'm not sure.
Coach Shepherd, do you know? They probably do. Everyone in South Sevier traps.
Yeah, it's like they all do the same. They do the same thing
from little kids all the way through. So I'm sure they do. So, South Sevier, your number 3 team. Now we're getting up to the top. Number 2.
Okay, number 2 is North Summit Braves. They've also had a good start to the season, being 5-2. They have 4 starters returning, so that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of them are pretty young. Coach Holmes with the North Summit Braves, he'd been there for quite a while. I remember playing in high school, they were always competitive. It's kind of like the same thing we said with John Marshall and Beaver. They're always competitive, always bringing the best to the table. But we have Heartland Richens averaging 16 points per game. She was first team All-State last year as a freshman. So she's going to bring it to the table this next year. We have another girl, Chesley Langston, averaging 12 points per game, and a Haslyn Murdoch with 10 points per game. So kind of the same thing there. They got 3 girls averaging over 10 points a game, and just with their experience last year, they played in the semis, having 4 girls coming back. I think it's going to be good, and they're going to be top of Region 16 this year.
That's a shocker that they have a Richens on their team.
I know, right? Don't they all have that same last name?
It's interesting as we've got to know a lot of these communities. Obviously, it's the same names all over. So when you hear North Summit and you hear Richens, it's definitely.
And it's not a shock that they're good athletes.
No,
too.
They are all fantastic athletes. On the boys' side, I don't know if they're related, but I know there's a bunch of Richens boys on the North Summit team right now are playing really well. Coach Holmes has been North Summit. He is North Summit, right? He's been around for a long time, and Jerry has been, and it's always good to hear his name.
Yep.
I'm just looking here on Des News. Career wins and losses for Jerry Holmes, 131 and 29.
It's pretty impressive.
A lot of wins. Fantastic. Your number 1 spot.
All right, Kanab Cowboys.
The Kanab Cowboys.
So that makes Kanab number 1 in both polls.
That's
Both
pretty
Power
impressive.
Fives.
polls. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
They should be proud. They're the defending state champs. 8-0 to start this season, so they haven't lost a game yet. They have 1 returning starter, and that's Anna Cutler, who's averaging 15 points a game. They're always a great 3-point shooting team. Kind of like the same thing. They have some Glover girls. Mm-hmm. It's always the Glover girls that are good shooters. They graduated 1 last year.
She was the MVP, right? She's playing for Snow this year. Is that right?
I'm not exactly sure where she's playing, but yeah, it was the Glover girl that got MVP. But they have no seniors, so a young team. And I love that just because that those contributors coming back this year, they pushed those girls that were on the court last year to become the state champs. And hopefully they can, do the same thing this year and keep it rolling. They have a freshman coming in. Her name's Riley Little. You guys probably know. She has a brother on the boys team.
Must be a Logan Little.
I know, but I don't. It's just so funny. They probably get this joke all the time that their last name is Little,
and they're not. At least Logan's not little. He's big.
Yeah,
he's the biggest kid on their team.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
on her D News profile, it was like 6'1", 6'2" as a freshman, something around
That's
there.
Big.
But I'm like, your last name is Little. They probably get it all the time. But I'm super excited to see what they can bring to the table this year. They have huge games this week against North Sevier and North Summit. So
wow,
those are 2 other teams in our Power 5.
Power 5 matchups right there.
And
I like it.
There's actually a lot of those within the Power 5 playing this week at the preview. So I'm excited to see kind of how these teams will match up against each other.
That's good. Because we were at the preview last week out here, and traditionally at the preview you don't see a lot of those big time matchups like that. I know the Wolves took on the Broncos last week, San Juan, but for the most part there wasn't a lot of those. At least our Power 5 teams that were taking on each other. North Summit and Parowan played each other. So it's interesting to see on the girls' side. It sounds like they've got some fantastic games coming up.
For sure. It's going to be exciting. I know I'll be there all weekend.
That's good. So I asked you, I know we know a little bit about how the region breakdowns go for the boys. How does Region 16, which is our region with Gunnison, North Sevier, how do they compare to that South region with Kanab, South Sevier, Beaver, everything else? Are they pretty evenly matched on the girls' side, or what do you see this year?
I'd say for the most part. I mean, Region 19 does have Kanab, who hasn't lost yet, and South Sevier. So there's my 1 and 3. Region 16 has my 2 and 5. So I mean, watching them play head to head is going to be interesting, but like obviously Region 16 also has Duchesne, who is one of my dark horses. So I think there's so many good teams that there's going to be a lot of close games this season, and it's going to come down to the nitty gritty and to the final seconds to see, who's going to be top dog.
That's what it seems like. Both those regions are pretty equally matched. If you shake it out based on what you have on your Power 5, yeah, it'll be a good matchup between those regions.
I'm excited. The other thing that's going to be excited, it throws a wrench into everything. I believe it's this Thursday the RPI is released for the first time. So it's always interesting to see how that always, you think you have in your mind, oh, this is how the RPI is going to shake out. Now, if somebody's, Kanab's unbeaten, more than likely those teams are going to rise to the top. But what happens as you start to drop down, there's a lot of factors that start going, are they playing across different classifications? Are they playing out-of-state teams? How does that all work? And we've said this before, your preseason really will affect what your RPI is for the rest of the season. Once you get into region, especially in this 16 and 17, when you're playing tough games all the time, it's hard to make up ground. Now, you can lose ground pretty quick, but it's hard to make it up if you end up in that 7, 8, 9 spot that is hard, and especially if you drop below 8 and then you got a road game at the end of the year. But so it'll be interesting to see how the RPI shakes out.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a Power 5. What do you think about that?
It's pretty. I'm excited. I'm just sitting here thinking this is exciting.
First one.
I'm curious. What were you thinking about this week as you were going over this?
I don't know. It was kind of fun. Me and my husband, we were coming home from St. George today. We just sat down and talked basketball. I mean, that's kind of what we always do.
Right.
We're always talking basketball, whether it's when he comes home from practice, after games, or just to talk basketball. We love it, and it was fun to kind of look into it and you kind of analyze it and take a deeper look into some basketball. So
you analyzed the Power 5 for girls. What's your current breakdown of the North Severe Wolves boys team?
Oh dear. I don't know if I could say. I'm just kidding.
I would say I was very, very, and I told Coach Cody here that I really enjoyed watching them play last week against San Juan. San Juan did get it was the very, very last second shot.
Absolutely.
So North Severe, I mean, one shot they could have won. They could have been celebrating. In this instance, they did not get a chance to celebrate. But the trajectory of the North Severe Wolves is going up. I really enjoyed how they played on this week. Was it Saturday? That was a Saturday game, right? Yes. So what's your breakdown of the Wolves?
So I just love how hard our team is working this year. Like, they are grinding every day. We're not going to be one of those teams that come in and blow teams out of the water. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, we have to show up every single night, play to the last few seconds. We won on a buzzer beater at Wayne with 7 seconds left. And then we come down that same week and lose with 0.5 seconds left to San Juan. And then we had a great win against Beaver. And
how was the Beaver win?
Oh, as the coach's wife, not good. I was freaking out. Is it stressful for you? Oh yeah. We're actually having a baby girl in March, and I told him, I said, I can't have this in February come state. We're gonna go into labor, and you're not gonna be able to go to the games. But yeah, I love watching. I love seeing the passion that the boys have for the game.
Would you rather play or watch?
Oh, play. Absolutely.
A lot less nervous to play.
Oh,
huh?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the one thing I was really impressed is I didn't see the first half, but I caught the fourth quarter of that game. The free throw shooting down the stretch. I don't think you missed down the last 4 minutes I was watching. I know hit a big three. I know Kyson had some big free throws. A bunch of guys came in there, hit some big free throws at the end. That's really what took it. At the high school level, you talk about fundamentals all the time. And I know kids roll their eyes. They're like, oh, we got to shoot free throws again. Free throws won that game for you. And so we've always loved watching the Wolves and the passion they have. Don't have a big team. There's no big guys out there this year, but they play with heart, and it's fun. We've got a lot of good friends. Kyson Bouchard, we know his dad really well, and so it's fun to follow those kids and have them see success. And that was a big win over Beaver. For sure.
You talk about free throws, and they were 12 for 12.
Yeah.
And the day before, we were at the team dinner, and my husband, Cody, he was like, oh, our end of practice free throws were absolutely awful. They had to do it 5 times. He wanted them to get 70%. I said, well, you know what? You just stay until they get 70% because we got to win. We got to make free throws to win games. And he's just like, oh, I'm going to be here all night. You have those days. You have those off shooting days. And come the next day, we're 12 for 12 and win it down the stretch. And those boys played with heart and played together. And it's just awesome to see.
That's
fun. Awesome to see.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Thanks.
Good breakdown of the Wolves, by the way.
Thank you.
This is fun to have somebody else here. We kind of used to be getting a little bit of a routine, and so this is nice to have a different breakdown here.
We're hoping, with your agreement, we can get you a couple times a month to talk about girls.
You bet.
Because I think it will build our community even better to get the girls involved in this as well. So we're excited.
Yeah, because one of the things that we've found is, as much as we try to talk about all the teams, unfortunately, some teams are better than others, and we do talk a lot about the teams that are performing and playing well, and sometimes that's good for schools, and sometimes it's not. So I think this way it's really going to even a lot of that out, even though some of the schools are going to get double doses like South Sevier and Kanab and Duchesne. It's going to give chances for like Draper APA and some of these other schools, and especially for a lot of these young women, these athletes. There's nothing, as far as we're aware, there is nothing like this in the state that I'm aware of at the high school level.
I haven't seen anything either.
So other than getting your name in the box score in the Deseret News or something at the end of the year, there's nothing out there. And so that's what Benny said. Our goal is to bring that community together. We've started with the boys, and if we can get to the girls, now it opens up this whole new thing. So
For sure. And it's so fun to hear the podcasts that come out. And, for those girls, it's going to be something exciting to look forward to and just kind of spread the community. So
yeah.
I'm excited. It'll be awesome.
It'll be good. Well, let's talk a little bit about the weekly roundup from last week on the boys' side. Benny, I know you had a chance to jump on the mic.
I did. I got to work the mic again with TeamHive.live. They were broadcasting the Gunnison-Altamont game.
Yeah. How was the trip out to the basin?
Long, 3 hours and 15 minutes plus. But it was good weather, so it was just fine. It was nice. I did get a little lathered up in the JV game and yelled at a ref. Actually, it felt good, though. I haven't yelled at a ref for a long time. So I did bark at a ref as a fan, which probably sounded ridiculous. But the freshmen played well. The JV played really well. And the varsity kind of played well, but they got to win.
That's
Yes.
good. That's good.
I think it was 44-43, an eker at the end. Mm-hmm. So it was fun. Rhett Jackson was calling the game play-by-play. Rhett, in my opinion, is the best in the business when it comes to play-by-play high school basketball. So I got to be his color guy for another night. So that was nice.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Maybe they'll ask you to come on, Peyton, and do some girls' games.
Okay. I'm not promising that'll go well.
That's one thing we both found. Benny's done more than me, but I did a couple games 2 years ago when my son was playing, and you listen to him on the radio, even just being a color guy, you watch a game, but when you're broadcasting it, everything's happening so fast. So you're trying to keep up with your thoughts and keep everything going. So guys that are good play-by-play guys, it's impressive.
Well, and just like the random stats that they throw out and just knowing all the names and just, I don't know, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Rhett and his metaphors that he throws out continually.
Yeah.
Very nice. The other thing that I noted is we had a new team, and we'll talk about them in our Power 5. American Heritage showed up on the scene this week.
Yeah. And we've heard at the beginning of the season, the teams in regions 18 and 17 and 18, which are the teams up north, the charter schools and the private schools. We know a couple of them, Rowland Hall. We usually see West Valley and APA Draper, and West Valley. But a lot of the other teams, we really don't see them that often, so we don't know a whole lot about them. We'd heard rumblings that American Heritage was going to be good, and we got confirmation from that this week.
Yes. I watched their game, the San Juan game, and I know they played again last night as well. Yes. Mm-hmm. Played APA Draper last night.
Yeah.
I think we'll cover them in the Power 5.
Yeah, so I had got a text. We've been texting Coach Johnson, Jeff Johnson, who is the new interim full-time coach for the San Juan Broncos. You may have heard this on the podcast, but they had hired a new coach. Not sure exactly all the details behind that, but he resigned. So Coach Jeff Johnson, who was on Coach Black's staff last year and also Coach Black's brother-in-law, took over the team the Wednesday before the preview. So the game before they played the North Sevier Wolves, he took over his team, and they went up and played American Heritage. And he sent me a text right after the game, and two things he said. He said, number one, American Heritage is for real. They can win it all. And the second comment was, he said, they have the best gym in 2A. So apparently it's like most schools you see, and they've got the gym. You can tell that they've got gyms built up, and it's a big school. Apparently it's down in the ground, so it just looks like a street level school.
Interesting.
But he said the gym is the best around. So I'm interested to see and hear more about the Patriots this season. But so far, that's what we know.
Exciting.
Yeah.
That was my week of bat. There wasn't a whole lot of games that played. There was a few 2A, 3A games throughout the week. South Superior got a huge win against Richfield. That was early in the week, Wednesday, I believe. Tuesday. Sorry, it was Tuesday.
And we'll talk more about them tonight. Before we jump into that, why don't we jump into the inside the numbers?
Oh, I'm excited about the inside the numbers tonight.
So for our viewers who are not familiar with this, we have a new segment this year called Inside the Numbers, sponsored by Robertson Kimball Accounting, always supporting their South Superior Rams. I know Lance texted me. He's coming over here Wednesday night. I believe the Rams are coming to Gunnison on Wednesday.
Yep.
Said, hey, let's make sure we'll talk. Talk to Coach Christensen. Maybe they'll bring us some South Superior swag over on Wednesday night.
Hope so.
So normally what we do during the segment, we talk about some basketball numbers. We've thrown a lot of trivia things out there, and we're kind of playing with this and trying to decide. So because we have Peyton with us here tonight, I decided to do some research this week and look up her high school numbers. I was blown away. I knew you were a good high school player. I didn't know you were that good.
Oh dear.
So just a little bit about Peyton again, just to tell you why we have her here and to talk about girls basketball. She led the North Seville Wolves to a state championship 2016, 2017. She was back-to-back 2A MVP in the 16 and 17 season. I don't know how many girls have actually done that at the 2A ranks. Do you know of anybody else who has done that?
I'm not sure, but
That is pretty impressive.
It was quite an honor for me, and it
awesome.
still is to this day. So
that is awesome. So in the 2016-2017, which is the year that you led the Wolves to the state championship, you averaged almost 16 points a game, 6.7 rebounds a game, 4.5 assists, 2.3 steals, and you blew out Kanab 69-55 in the state championship. What was it like to win a state championship?
Well, so my freshman year, we lost the state championship. My sophomore year, we lost in the semis. Junior year, lost in the championship. So come that third time in the state championship, we weren't going to lose. It was actually... Wait, did you say Kanab?
Yeah, didn't you beat Kanab?
We beat Emory.
Oh, you beat Emory?
Yep.
That's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
I was going to have to correct you on that.
That's
I
interesting.
was like, wait. It wasn't Kanab, yeah. It was Emory. And earlier in that season, we had lost twice in region. We lost, I think, about by 10 at home and then 30 at their place. So when we came to the state, we weren't backing down, and it was amazing. It was everything that, as a little girl, that you hope and dream for, especially me, because that was my life. So
That was your senior year?
yeah.
Senior.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what's impressive. Generally speaking, the Des News doesn't do this very often. In the 2015-2016 season, you were the MVP, but did not win the state championship. That does not happen very often. So I think that speaks volumes about what kind of player you were and the impact you had on the 2A game that year. As a junior, 17.5 points per game, 9 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 1.5 steals. That's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you.
So what was it like? I personally never won a state championship as a player. As a baseball coach, we won a couple, so I know what it's like as a coach. How did you feel the year that you lost?
Oh.
And what made you say, hey, we're going to get back again the next year?
That was about the hardest thing a 16-year-old girl could go through. Honestly, it was just a big heartbreak. Like I said, that was our second time doing it. But I had a group of seniors, great friends by my side, and I think we got together and said, this is not happening again. We worked extra hard that summer. My coach Larson actually put together a summer challenge where you had to get 217 points, because that was the year. You got so many points for threes, so many points for ball handling and running, things like that. my sister was coming in and she was a freshman. We actually completed it 2 times before anyone else had even finished it on our team. So we were going to do it and get it done, and no matter what it took. So
that's awesome. So what would you say? Hopefully there's a bunch of girls players out there listening right now. What advice do you give them to try to get to that next level, whether that next level is winning region or being state champions or winning an MVP or playing at the next level? What's the best advice that you can give them now, looking back, that you maybe wish you had done?
That's a tough question, because honestly, this might sound a little cocky, but I was proud of the work I put in. But I think just find your drive, find what matters to you most. If you're just there to play, sometimes that's okay. But if you're there and your heart's in it and that's your dream, just go for it. And even if you don't get it, giving it your all feels so much better, and looking back saying I did everything I could. So, and honestly, you only have 4 years of playing high school basketball, and it's gone in a blink of an eye. So, I love that. And those years are some that you'll never forget. So just give it your all.
I remember thinking back, I didn't know you at the time, but I was at that game when you did play Emory. And the one thing that always stands out in my mind was just the passion that you played with. I was a vocal, passionate player too. I couldn't control myself. I just was that way. And so I always loved to watch players that play with that fire, that vocal fire, that show the highs and even the lows. They wear all on their sleeve what they play with. And that's what I remember the most about you playing in that. It was just your passion to win. And it seemed like towards the end, it was a lot of, did it go to overtime?
It did.
Okay. I remember correctly. There was a lot of, we're going to win. They come back. We're going to win, come back. But I just remember your passion of playing basketball, and that's always stuck out to me. So,
yep, and it lives on through this day. Through watching my husband coach and watching my sisters play, it's hard to contain my emotions sometimes. But if you have that love for basketball, you have it, and it's never going to go away.
And obviously, that's why you succeeded at the level you did, is because you had pure passion. Tell us a little bit about track.
Oh, that track is stressful.
I'll tell you what, track was never a thing in our home until Jackson could no longer, he was a baseball player growing up and he could no longer play anymore because he couldn't look up in the air. So it's kind of hard to play baseball when you can't look up in the air. So he started running, and he first started running cross country, and then he picked up, so it was a fall, he started running cross country, and in the spring he started running track. And he absolutely fell in love with it. Absolutely loved it, to the point where Jet now, he is followed in that footstep. So Jet's a sprinter. Jackson was a long distance guy. He would run forever. Track is awesome. Track is very competitive. So tell us about your experience with track.
Yeah. Love-hate relationship. I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed, but I think that's just who I am as a person. And I love how it's just you. It's just you out there, and your work shows. It's nobody else's fault. It's not the ref's fault. Mm-hmm. It's not the other team is just better than you. If you're faster than them, you're faster than them. But I got quite a few individual state championships with track, and it's just so fun to see your work.
What did you run?
400 and 800.
Jackson ran the 800. That's a tough one.
So you're a state champion in the 400, correct?
And the 8.
Wow.
No, I don't recommend running those in the same track meet. That's a lot.
That is impressive.
Because all you have between them is the 300 hurdles to rest, and you're back at it. So
to win both of those, that's very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you.
So I'm going down this list of accomplishments here. Not only are you 2-time MVP in basketball, lettered in volleyball and track, state champion in the 400 meter and the 800 meter.
Yep, sports is my life. It's kind of all I do.
It's so good to see in the day and age we have now. There's so many kids that are just focusing on one sport or one thing anymore, and it's tough. But in these small schools, it's nice. The kids can still go and play football and play basketball and run track and play baseball, and they can do all these things, and they have those opportunities that they want to have them.
Absolutely. And especially it's good when those other coaches are supporting and encouraging that. To be successful in all sports, you have to have that. You have to have all the athletes show up, coaches supporting each other, like I said. So,
how did you meet your husband?
Okay, this is a kind of embarrassing story.
That's fine.
But we're gonna
hopefully it is embarrassing.
We're gonna go for it. So, my husband, the senior basketball star. Okay, I'm an 8th grader at this time.
Nice, I like it.
Crushing hard. Went to every game. I remember one time he dove out of bounds to save the ball, and he was like right at my feet, all pissed off and just so flustered in the game, and I'm just staring at him. But anyways, yep, 8th grader crushing on him. He went on his mission. He promised me that we play one-on-one when he got back. So at this point, I'm a senior, going to be a senior. We played one-on-one. He absolutely destroyed me, but obviously he wanted to go on more dates after that. So it worked out for me.
I like it. He was a great basketball player.
He was.
Yes, he was. That's not too embarrassing.
Kind of, because I was 13.
But
every girl has a crush like that, I feel like. It's fine. It's fine. It worked out in my favor.
Great basketball family.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And that was, again, for our Inside the Numbers. Just really quickly, career high school stats for Peyton. I looked this up, 1,400 points in her career. So just for fun, I was looking up on the records today where you had to get in the top 10 all time for girls basketball. You're about 250 short of that. So that'll give you a barometer about where you were at. I mean, you're talking about records that go back as far as they had records in these sports. So pretty impressive. 72 3-point shots, 206 rebounds, 60 assists, 18 steals. It lists 0 blocks. Is that true?
Oh, that's absolutely wrong.
Man down.
Jeez.
He was too impressed by my blocks. It just took his headphones right off.
Gosh, I don't know what happened.
Back at it?
All of a sudden they just fell off. That was weird. So that's our Inside the Numbers for tonight. We're so excited to have you here, Peyton.
I'm so excited.
This is a whole time. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little off my game tonight because I'm not used to thinking this much about thinking to ask something. So it's taken me a little while.
What do you think of the podcast so far?
It's good.
Is it all right?
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
I came in shaking. I was a little nervous, kind of those pregame jitters, but having fun now.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Once you get going, you kind of get in a routine, and we're excited to have you on. I think you'll find as over time we'll get in a rhythm on how we work. I've got some homework to do. I need to learn a little bit more about who's playing who in girls basketball, which normally I'll admit I haven't paid that close of attention to it, but I'm going to have to do that now. So we're excited to have you on. We're excited to have the first inaugural Power 5 for girls. Should we move into the boys Power 5?
Let's fire it off.
Let's talk about, again, what really matters, and that's the boys Power 5. Just like the girls Power 5 this year, it's always sponsored by our good friends at Barney Trucking. I love the introduction of the dark horses this year. Last year, we had the Power 5, and it worked really, really well. But like Benny said, we always had those teams on the bubble that were just never quite there, and we didn't have a chance to really talk about them.
But we wanted to highlight them because they were doing special things for their particular school. But dark horses this year, American Heritage, you mentioned them earlier. They're gonna pop in as a dark horse right now. We're not gonna put them right into the Power 5 until we see them a little bit more. But they are going to jump in as at 4-0 as our number 2 dark horse.
Yeah. So last week, big wins. They had a huge win over San Juan, 83-50 at home. Ricky Patterson goes for 21. Stephen LePray, 15. Weston Marshall, 13. They've got a host of guys that can really fill it up there. And then last night, 82-68 over Draper APA. Ricky Patterson, we got to find more about this kid. He dropped 37 points last night.
37 on a high school game is impressive.
Absolutely it is. So
it's a lot of points.
I watched him. I know you watched him a little bit. I watched a little bit about that San Juan. They're long,
athletic.
They're quick. They get up and down the court. I mean, you're putting up 80 plus points back-to-back games in a high school game. You're getting up and down the court. So I'm excited to see what they are. American Heritage made some rumblings a couple years ago.
Yes,
with
they
Coach
did.
Winnetana when his son was playing on the team. So we're excited again. The little bit of feedback that we have had has come via another coach, Coach Johnson down in San Juan. He was the one who said these guys are legit. Now he would know, being around the Broncos last year as well as they played. He knows what a state championship team looks like. So I'm excited to see what American Heritage has.
I reached out to him, sent an email to the coach. So hopefully we hear something back so we can report a little bit more on them next week.
Yeah. All right. Who's our other dark horse?
Dark horse, Parowan. They're going to stay in as a dark horse at 3-1. They got an impressive win this week over in I believe it was in Panguitch, 51-50. So anytime you can travel to Panguitch to get a win, that's an impressive win.
Yeah. So I did notice in that game, Luke Millett, leading scorer with 11. They held Brock to 6. I don't know what happened that night. Whatever they did, I know Panguitch has some big guys down there to hold Brockfelder to under 10 points. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, and it's good to see Luke Miller getting some scoring too. He's a big fella. Down at the SVC when they played, he wasn't involved in the offense scoring a whole lot, so it's good to see him in double digits.
Yeah.
This week, Parowan, they have a good cross county. Yeah, cross county. Canyon View, they play on the 13th, so that'll be a good matchup for them.
Yeah, be good. All right, well let's move up into the Power 5. Peyton, feel free if you got some comments to say, fire away.
All right.
As our number 5 team, if you don't mind me jumping in, probably the funnest team to watch thus far, the North Summit Braves.
Oh, absolutely, they're fun. Mel Brown was blowing me up the other night on Instagram. So we talked about that. You look at what he did last year, and you look at what he's doing this year, and you made mention he may be the most improved player in 2A this year. Very impressive. They had a big win over Roland Hall this week. Mel had 27 points. Sawyer Richens 21. Trevor Richens 17. They've got a huge week coming up, though.
Well, and that's where all their scoring is going to come from is those 3 guys. So if they're getting that good of production, then you just got some other guys that are just going to play tough defense, rebound, defend, and that's how they've won thus far. And that's how they beat Parowan the other night down at the SVC, was just playing hard, playing good basketball, tough-nosed defense, and they're loaded with schedules this week.
Yeah, they've got a huge week.
They've got South Summit. Do you mention these? South Summit on the 13th, Beaver on the 16th, and Enterprise on the 17th.
Yeah, I know that South Summit game's a big rivalry game. They're playing over in Camas this week, so they go back and forth every other week. Big week for them. South Summit's 4-0, so that's going to be a huge test for them. And then they make a long road trip where they go down south. I don't know who else they're playing, but I know they play Beaver and then Enterprise.
Yeah, so that'll tell a lot about the Braves this week.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. Coach Priest has got his guys playing well. They're playing with a whole lot of confidence. They are a lot of fun to play right now. We weren't sure what they were going to have, but after seeing them at the SVC,
anything can happen. You never know.
They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to watch right now.
So shout out to Mel Brown, his Fighting North Summit Braves coming at our 5 spot.
Right. Number 4.
Enterprise. Enterprise was off this week.
Yeah.
So I guess their scheduling just worked out that they took a week off, I suppose, whatever the scheduling happened. But they're hosting this week Duchesne and North Summit. So those will be 2 good those games in general, Duchesne, North Summit, that's a tough competition for Enterprise.
So here's a question. I was thinking about this, and maybe this is for both of you. A lot of teams load up in the preseason. I look at North Summit right now. They got South Summit on Tuesday, Beaver on Friday, Enterprise on Saturday night. Is it good for your teams to do that early in the preseason, or do you take the road maybe what like Coach Randall's saying is, maybe we'll let our guys rest up a little bit and we'll hit it hard later on? Is there a good or bad? I don't know.
I guess it depends on. If some schools, say for instance, Duchesne is a school, they just load it up and say, hey, we're just going to play. South Sevier, they just absolutely loaded their schedule this year with tough 2A teams and 3A teams. So some coaches, that they want to test their teams and just throw them in the best competition they can and prepare them for the playoffs and the championship run. Other coaches don't have the firepower usually to do that, so maybe perhaps they're going to protect their team a little bit, build their RPI up, and then come into the the second half of the season with a higher RPI and try to make a run at that point as well. So I don't know. I guess just different philosophies.
Yeah, do girls? I mean, do they have a preference? What's your thoughts?
I don't think so. I think it's just the coach's preference. Because honestly, you either load up early and kind of risk that RPI, but you're gaining knowledge, and those girls are gaining confidence and boys as well, to play tough games in the fourth quarter. Because when it comes to state, RPI doesn't matter. It's who can win in the close games,
Right.
but at the same time, RPI does matter. So kind of my opinion is just the coach's preference and what they think is best for their team. And
Because I would say like a team, for instance, like South Sevier or Enterprise, you could load up in your schedule, and even if you, let's just say hypothetically, you ended up with a lower seed, you're going to compete and win in your playoff games anyway. Mm-hmm. So you are correct. Put them in the fire now, maybe have some last minute or last second shot opportunities to dial up last second plays, overtime opportunities, things like that kids can experience early on rather before the playoffs. So I guess just different philosophies.
I was just curious to see something like I say, Enterprise doesn't play this week. Other teams are completely loaded up. So interesting. All right, let's go to number 3.
Our Millard Eagles from Region 16 coming in at 5-1. They took their first loss of the season this past week, played Emory. Emory traditionally is a tough team to play.
Year, yeah.
Usually long and lanky and will zone you the whole time. So if you're not knocking shots down, it's hard to beat them if they have a competitive defense, which they apparently do have. So they handled Millard this week 66-50, but then Millard turns around and beats Delta, another 3A team, 64-42. And once again, Millard led again, scoring by Hunter Rhodes, put in 23 against Emory and 24 against Delta.
Yeah. I did notice too, Davies had a big game against Delta, 15 points there. They've got a tough week coming up for them.
Well, they are loaded. Juab on the 14th and Richfield on the 16th.
Yeah, so you got two tough. We've seen Richfield play. I haven't seen Juab play, but I know they're tough. They're big, strong. So they've got a test this week again. I think Coach Rowe just challenging his guys. He's saying, "Hey, we're gonna go out and play the best. We've got to get better." They know what they have. I think a team like Millard and Coach Rhodes, he knows what his team has. He knows what they need, which is obviously why he's out getting these games.
Absolutely. So Millard will be coming at the third spot. Like I said, our Power 5 hasn't changed for a couple weeks now because we haven't had any head-to-head matchups yet.
True.
But once region starts, we're going to have some awesome head-to-heads with all these Power 5 teams. So Millard at number 3 spot. Number 2 remains South Sevier at 4-2.
Yeah.
South Sevier had a loaded week. They had wins over Richfield in overtime. I did watch that game. Richfield was in the driver's seat to win that game, and South Sevier, as usual, South Sevier pulls things out of the hat.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the game, and I always contribute that to they play such good basketball that at the end of the games they expect to make big plays, and they did it again. Richfield should have won this game, but South Sevier gets it to overtime, and they did have a shot. Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, they hit a shot to put it into overtime. South Sevier did. So they just win. South Sevier just finds a way to win. They're led by Miramontes, had 20, Tebbs had 12. They followed that up with a 76-44 win over Delta. Tebbs puts in 20, and then a 64-54 win over Carbon. Tebbs had 19, Miramontes 10.
Yeah. So I think this is just classic what you're going to see South Sevier all year long. Miramontes, their do-it-all guy. He's going to be right there at the top.
Impressive.
He is good. I talked to a couple people this week, and that's the first name when we talk about South Sevier. The first name that comes up is Emilio Miramontes.
He does great things. Now you have a stat on here that blew my mind. 26 threes over the last 3 games.
Yeah.
That's 8.6 per game.
Yeah. So you think about, so let's say you hit nine shots a game, you do quick math, that's 27 points. If you're scoring 60 points a game, that's half of your scoring coming from the perimeter. Now we know South Sevier, when they're hitting threes and they jump into that press, that they can put a lot on you really fast. And I think that's what you're seeing. It sounds like they had to grind it out against Richfield, but other than that, they're putting up some points. I'm interested to see this week. They come over here to Gunnison on Wednesday, and then they play Duchesne on the 15th. Duchesne last year was a thorn in their side.
Played them twice. they played them to a 3-point game. I think at the SVC, it was a 3, 4, 5-point game, perhaps, and then the same in the playoffs as well. So where is that game?
I believe that is at South Severe because Duchesne's making their big road trip. I think
so they're heading.
I think they hit South Severe, Beaver, and Enterprise.
So Duchesne, in 3 consecutive nights, has South Severe, Beaver, Enterprise. How about that for a 3-game stretch?
Call, you hope you don't lose a couple guys to injury or something.
Yeah,
that's tough.
And then not only that, you're traveling clear from the base and you're hitting those guys back to back to back nights. Traditionally in Region 16, you don't see that a lot. Region 17 with San Juan, you see a lot of those guys will make those big road trips just because it's so long. I know last year we went down to Enterprise, just speaking of road trips, to go from Blanding to Enterprise, it's 400 miles. It's like driving from here to Barstow. I mean, think about that.
I don't even know where Barstow is.
So if you go south of Vegas, I mean,
heading to Disneyland, you'll go through Barstow.
So it's a long ways. Kudos to Coach Hoops for doing that, but Coach Christensen, they're playing well right now.
Yeah, so
they're playing well.
South Severe will stay at the 2 spot.
All right, we have dual number 1 teams in the Power 5. Who's our number 1 team again?
That'd be the Kanab Cowboys at 6-0.
Yep. Coach Glazier has got his team playing well. They played the Bulldogs this week.
Was it this week? Yes, it was Wednesday.
Yes.
Impressive thing about that game, it was Gunnison actually played them very, very tough the first half.
Yeah.
It was within a couple possessions when the half ended. And as the number 1 team would do, they went on an 18-20-0 run to start the third quarter. Mm-hmm. That's what great teams do. Gunnison shot exceptionally well in the first half, and so did Kanab. It was close. I want to say like a 30-33 game, something like that at half. But great teams will make the adjustments, and then they'll just blow teams out. Mm-hmm. So they go on an 18-20-0 run, game over.
Yeah. John Wilden kept us in the game the first half. He couldn't miss.
Yeah, he shot really well in the first quarter. He had double digits easy in the first quarter.
Twisted his ankle. Something happened right towards the end of the half, and then, like you say, they came out. You look at the box score for Kanab. Nobody's going to wow you. Cornell ended up with a quiet 18. Janes had 11, then Orton 10, and then you just had a myriad of guys down through there. You saw a lot of Logan Little. A lot of guys played a lot of minutes for Kanab. So this week they've got Bryce Valley and the defending 1A champs, Paiute Thunderbirds. That's going to be an interesting game because Paiute's tough this year.
Yeah. So Kanab, they'll be tested again this week, even though they're 1A teams. They will be tested, but they'll stay at the number 1 spot at 6-0. Hard to move them if they're still winning.
How cool is that we have Kanab at the top? Well, Coach Glazier is going to be excited about that.
Well, and both of them are undefeated.
Yeah.
The girls teams are 8-0, so that's pretty awesome.
They're doing something right down in Kanab. I don't know
What's
what
in the water.
Yeah.
At some point we could have a South Severe 1-1 as well.
Yeah.
At the top spot. So
yeah.
That's their Power 5 this week.
Yeah, so Power 5 the same as last week. North Summit number 5, Enterprise number 4, Millard 3, South Severe number 2, and the Kanab Cowboys and Coach Glazier keep on the number 1 spot again for the 5th week in a row.
We're in week 5. Start of week 5.
4th week in a row.
No, we're in week 5.
5th week in a row.
5th week in a row.
I couldn't remember if we did a Power 5. We did do a Power 5 the first week. Sorry, I'm a little off my game tonight.
That's all right.
And we're almost done at 1 hour because pretty soon this is going to click back to our little thing. So
it goes by fast. You don't realize that we've been doing it that quick, and it just kind of goes. Our last segment that we usually do every night is our wrap up, sponsored by G Telco Lightburst Broadband here in Gunnison. The Sanders family, they're so good to support us. The Vikings got beat by the Lions, which I found was interesting today because I was watching the other day. The Lions, who were 5-7, were actually favored to beat the Vikings.
Really?
Yeah. I only know that my 12-year-old son is a big Vikings fan. He was not happy today because the Lions beat him.
We pulled it up at church today. He didn't want to talk about it.
He does not like Kirk Cousins, but when they win, he does. When he doesn't, Kirk Cousins is the dog. So what's your thoughts after the first night, Peyton?
This is great. I mean, I love it, and I love starting to incorporate the girls' stuff. It just adds a different aspect. And like you said, it's fun comparing like those teams like Duchesne. They're my dark horse, and they're right up there for you guys too, and Kanab obviously, but I don't know. This is fun. I love that you guys do this, and I think it gives people something to look forward to, and I don't know. Us 2A people are pretty lucky to have you guys giving us some highlights, giving us some credit. You know.
Well, now you're a part of it.
I know. I'm a big dog with
you
guys.
So what was your biggest worry about prepping for the podcast tonight?
I don't know. I would just say I didn't want to screw up. But you know what? Everyone's going to have their own opinions, and everyone thinks differently about basketball, and that's okay. I guess that's why we're all here. We all have different opinions and can kind of work off of each other and just give what we can to 2A basketball. So
what'll be awesome now is that, we got another one. What'll be awesome now is once you have head-to-heads, pre-season rankings and Power Fives are difficult because that's when you get into opinion and you're always afraid to voice your opinion. But once you start having head-to-head matchups, that's when it gets absolutely a lot of fun. Because once you start, especially the region teams that have to play twice. Last year when we had Enterprise and San Juan playing, they ended up playing 3 times last year. So each time it was absolutely awesome to talk about the previous game, talk about the next game, what changes were made. So that's when it becomes a lot of fun is to analyze and talk about the matchups when they go head to head. And
that'll be a big one for us next time we do the Girls Power5 because, like I said, at the SVC preview this weekend, we're seeing a lot of those go matching up together.
Are you taking your camera out there?
I probably will.
Okay, good. Peyton is an Instagram, what's the word? Genius. You're very good at Instagram. You're very, very good at Instagram. So hopefully you get your camera out there and you can get some stuff up.
We can get us some content.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you being on again. Our ultimate goal for this podcast is to bring the 2A community together. One thing you'll find as you start looking more into this and reaching out to more teams, there's a lot of storylines that start to develop. Last year when we started, we had no idea. We showed up to the SVC. We talked about this last week. We showed up to the SVC year one, a little intimidated. We go down to the press box and everybody's looking at us like, what are you clowns doing here? What do you guys? We kind of sat down, we put on our headsets and acted like we knew what we were doing. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. More intimidated than anything. This year it was completely different. And so you're going to find this out now as you start to reach out to teams. People will reach out to you. These storylines start to develop and you'll start to hear about, all right, this is what Knab's doing. This is what Duchesne's doing. Here's what North Severe's doing. And that as you share those, more and more things come up. And as you show up to games, people will come up to you and they'll say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. And that's the reward that we want in this is, hey, we appreciate what you guys are doing. I actually got a text from a dad this morning. Same thing, said, hey, I appreciate what you guys are doing. Thanks, for highlighting my son for what you do. And it's just something fun. It's something fun for us to do, but more importantly, it's bringing everybody together.
And you'll meet what we found. We met people we never would have met before, ever. We have met kids, yes, but parents. We've met with a lot of cool people.
Yeah, so a lot of good things. Any other things for the week before we wrap up for the night?
Who do the Wolves have this week? Coach?
Yeah, who do you play? No, we're up at Mazer Prep, and then we have Delta at home on Friday.
Very nice. Good tune up for you. Very nice.
Good.
That's all I got for the night.
Anything else for tonight, Peyton? Any other closing thoughts that you have for tonight?
Nope. I'm excited to do this. Girls basketball is fun. So I'm excited to be able to give a little insight on that too. Good.
Well, thank you for joining. This has been a while in the works, like we mentioned before. We appreciate you coming on and really giving some validity to this. There's no way we could have done this justice. We could talk scores, we can talk girls all day long, but unless somebody comes on who understands the game and people know, oh yeah, we know Peyton. We know that she understands what she's talking about. And as time goes on, people are going to start looking to this now and say, all right, they're going to say, who's in the Power 5 this week? Who's in the Power 5 next week? Naturally, you're going to see things happen that we saw with the boys. Once it gets into region, it's wild. Girls play Tuesday, Thursday, but for boys, it's Wednesday, Friday. I mean, there was times last year where we'd each be watching 2 or 3 games. I'm announcing the games at Gunnison and I'm watching another game on my phone. sorry to admit that, but you're checking to see everything that's going on, and it's so much fun. And then it kind of gets to the end with the state tournament, and everything kind of culminates with that. So I'm excited for that to happen. Again, we're looking forward to your updates. We're excited for your Instagram prowess because we're just not really good at it.
I'll help you guys out.
Great. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We also like to thank all of our sponsors. You see them rolling here in the back. Our title sponsor, Security National, a good friend, Chris Jorgensen, up in the Ephraim office. If you have any mortgage needs, reach out to him. We appreciate Snow College South, Barney Trucking, Dixie Power, Redmond Minerals, Crosby.
Shout out for the
Home and Farm. Yeah, they're doing a giveaway for a new Traeger grill, which I got an early Christmas present. I got a Traeger myself.
Oh, nice.
I put it together this week. I have no idea what to do with it.
But we have a Traeger that Crosby Home has donated to the Fourth Row. So there's a giveaway going on with that. Just go to YouTube, subscribe, and just leave a comment. Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since now I'm a part of this, is that like illegal for me to win the giveaway if I go enter? Kind of.
Well, no.
Okay, I'm gonna go into that.
Yeah, you don't enter it.
Go enter for a Traeger grill.
Coach entered it, so
Yeah, I know, but we got to get more entries in. I'm gonna go talk to my whole family.
Well, we're excited too because I know you have a big presence on social media. So, and the other thing we've noticed too, and we're hoping we can break past this. Boys basketball players. How do I say this without saying it? They are not active on social media unless you have Snapchat or TikTok or something else. Instagram, they'll look at our stuff, but very rarely do they do anything with it. I don't know if girls are the same or not.
I think that's just high school boys in general.
Oh.
Girls are more active.
Okay.
We'll get it rolling.
So we're excited now that once they see you're there and you start putting some posts up, we're excited to see what's going to happen here.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, as always, we appreciate you joining us and spending your time with us. So for the Fourth Row, for Benny, for Peyton, myself, Andy Hill, we're out.
Thank you for spending your time with the Fourth Row. For more information, check out our website at fourthrowmedia.com or send us a message through any of our social media channels.